Hey everyone, welcome back to Reliable Prepper. Today we're talking about one of the hardest dilemmas you may ever face as a prepper. How to respond when friends and family come to you for help during a crisis, but your supplies are limited. It's an emotional and practical challenge that we all need to think about because, in a crisis, you'll need to balance compassion for your loved ones with the hard reality that your resources won't last forever. Before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Facebook. Also, check the pinned comment for a link to sign up for my new free newsletter. When you sign up, you'll instantly get a free download of my ebook, Surviving Civil Unrest, a Complete Guide. It's packed with tips and strategies to help keep you and your family safe during uncertain times. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on that. All right, let's dive in. The key to surviving any crisis is preparation. And that goes for dealing with friends and family just as much as it does for your own survival. If you wait until the moment people are at your door, desperate for help, it's already too late to figure out how to handle the situation. The best time to plan for helping others is now, before disaster strikes, while you still have time to think things through. First, you need to have those tough conversations with your loved ones. It's uncomfortable, but it's critical to set expectations before a crisis happens. You have to let them know that your priority is your household, and while you may want to help them, your resources are limited. Encourage them to start preparing now. Share basic survival information like how to store water, stockpile food, and prepare a simple first aid kit. If they take your advice seriously and start their own prepping efforts, they'll be less reliant on you if things go south. Now, even with these conversations, there will still be people who aren't prepared or think they can rely on you. This is where forward planning really makes a difference. One strategy is to create a small buffer of emergency supplies specifically for helping others. It's important to keep this separate from your core stockpile so that when friends or family come asking for help, you can offer them something without jeopardizing your own survival. You're not giving them the world, just enough to help them get by temporarily. Consider creating small emergency kits that you can hand out in these situations. These kits don't have to be complex, but they should include basic items like protein bars, water purification tablets, simple hygiene products, and a small first aid kit. These kits offer temporary relief and make it clear that while you're willing to help, you're not a long-term solution. This keeps the pressure off you while giving them a little breathing room to figure out their next steps. However, it's not just about supplies. A huge part of helping others without sacrificing your resources is sharing knowledge. You can teach them essential survival skills like how to purify water, find food, or cook with limited resources. By empowering others with knowledge, you reduce their dependence on your supplies. And the best part? Sharing survival knowledge doesn't cost you anything but time. Before you even think about helping someone else, you need to have a clear understanding of what you have and how long it will last. The reality is that in a long-term crisis, you can't just give away what you've stockpiled without carefully considering the consequences. You need to protect your household's future. Start by doing a detailed inventory of everything you have: food, water, medical supplies, fuel, and any other essentials. Calculate how long these supplies will last if it's just you and your household. Can you stretch them to last a few months or more if things get worse? Once you know how much you have, you can decide how much, if any, you can afford to give away. It's critical to establish a firm limit for yourself. You need to know in your head exactly how much you can give away before you start compromising your own survival. If you don't set this boundary, it's easy to fall into the trap of giving away too much, especially when emotions come into play. Friends and family will tug at your heartstrings, but you have to be clear about one thing. Your responsibility is first and foremost to the people under your roof. This is where setting boundaries becomes so important. If someone comes to you asking for help, it's okay to offer a little assistance, but you need to communicate that your resources are finite. You might say something like, "I wish I could help more, but I have to make sure my family is taken care of. Here's a little to get you through for now, but you'll need to find another solution." It's tough, but it sets the tone that while you're willing to help, they can't rely on you for everything. One of the best ways to help without giving away too much is by offering knowledge instead of supplies. Show them how to purify water, stretch their food rations, or even find resources on their own. Teaching someone these skills can be more valuable than giving them physical items. In the end, you're helping them become more self-sufficient and reducing the likelihood that they'll keep coming back to you. Now, one of the most important aspects of dealing with friends and family during a crisis is managing secrecy. It's called operational security, or OPSEC, and it's something a lot of people overlook. If others know you're well prepared, it can make you a target. Not just for strangers, but even for friends and family who are desperate. To start, you need to keep your stockpile and preparedness efforts under wraps. Don't broadcast it to everyone in the neighborhood. Don't casually mention it in conversation. And for the love of all things, don't let people see your supplies. The more people who know what you have, the greater the risk that someone might try to take it from you. Even well-meaning friends can slip up and tell others, creating a domino effect where suddenly your home becomes the go-to place for help. When people ask how you're doing, downplay it. You're not lying, but you're not giving the full truth either. Say something like, "We're managing, but it's tough." That way, you're not painting yourself as someone who has extra resources to spare. The goal is to make sure that no one assumes you're the prepper with endless supplies who can help everyone. Physically securing your home is just as important as keeping quiet. Reinforce doors and windows, use simple security measures like motion lights or cameras, and keep your supplies hidden in places that aren't easy to access or see. If someone comes into your home, they shouldn't immediately spot your stockpile of food or water. Think about creating hidden storage areas. Your attic, basement, or even outdoors in buried containers can work as excellent places to stash resources. The less obvious your supplies are, the safer you'll be. And don't keep everything in one place. Spread your supplies out. If someone does manage to get into your home and finds your stash, they won't find everything. Keeping your resources divided ensures that you'll still have enough to survive, even if part of your stockpile gets stolen or discovered. One more thing, if someone asks for help, try to offer it in a way that doesn't attract attention. For example, instead of openly handing out supplies, you could leave a small package in a discreet location for them to pick up. This avoids public displays of generosity, which could cause others to take notice and start asking for help as well. By keeping your assistance low-key, you can help without drawing a crowd. When the crisis hits and friends or family show up at your door asking for help, it's an emotional situation. You care about these people, and it's hard to turn them away, but you have to protect your household first. That's the bottom line. The first thing you need to do is set clear boundaries. You can't be the person everyone depends on, or you'll burn through your supplies faster than you can imagine. When someone asks for help, be compassionate but firm. You might say, "I wish I could do more, but my supplies are limited and I have to make sure my family has enough to survive." Offer a little help, maybe a meal or a bottle of water, but make it clear that they can't keep coming back to you. This keeps the situation manageable and shows that you care without compromising your own resources. But what do you do when people start pushing harder? Maybe they get emotional or even aggressive. This is where you need to stay calm. Desperation can lead to manipulation, and people might try to guilt you into giving more than you can afford. You have to stand your ground. You can say something like, "I understand this is difficult, but I can't give more without putting my own family at risk." This acknowledges their struggle, but reinforces the fact that you have limits. Another option is to offer help that doesn't involve giving away supplies. You can teach them how to purify water, how to make their food last longer, or how to find resources on their own. By offering guidance instead of physical supplies, you're empowering them to become more self-reliant. It's a win-win situation. You're still helping, but you're not depleting your own stockpile. For example, if someone is struggling with finding drinkable water, instead of giving them your supply, you can show them how to safely collect and purify rainwater, or how to make a simple DIY water filter. This knowledge could be life-saving for them and spares you from having to part with your own resources. And don't underestimate the value of mental and emotional support during a crisis. Sometimes just listening to someone, offering advice, or sharing calming words can be as valuable as any physical assistance. While resources like food and water are critical, being a source of calm and rational thinking can provide immense relief for those who feel lost or panicked. One of the things many preppers don't fully consider is the possibility of a long-term crisis, one that lasts weeks, months, or even longer. In these cases, your ability to offer help may change over time. When the crisis first hits, you might have more flexibility to share resources. But as time goes on, your supplies will dwindle, and you'll need to reassess what you can spare. If it becomes clear that the crisis is going to last longer than expected, you'll need to tighten the belt, so to speak. You might have started off giving more freely, but as your resources start to shrink, you'll need to adjust your strategy. This means revisiting your inventory regularly and being even more selective about who you help and how much you give. In an extended crisis, people may come back to you asking for more assistance, especially if they know you've helped them before. This is where it's essential to set firm boundaries early on. Let them know that you helped once, but you're not able to provide ongoing support. If you feel comfortable, you can offer non-supply help, like pointing them toward other resources they might have overlooked, or suggesting they team up with others to share skills and labor. Dealing with returning requests can be particularly hard if the person or people you helped were close to you, family members or longtime friends. They may expect more help simply because of the relationship, and turning them down can strain the bond. But again, your priority must remain on the survival of your own household. Your resources aren't unlimited, and making that clear is essential. One of the most important skills you can develop for managing these situations is how to frame conversations in a way that reduces tension. When you're telling someone no, especially someone who is desperate, the way you say it matters a lot. Start by acknowledging their situation, which shows empathy and helps them feel heard. You might say, "I understand how hard this is, and I wish I could do more, but my supplies are running low too." This softens the blow while still making it clear that you can't give more. It's about showing that you care but have firm limits in place. The goal is to avoid escalating the situation, especially if the person becomes emotional or upset. In some cases, tactful deflection can work. Instead of outright refusing, you might redirect them to another source of help, or suggest alternatives that don't involve your own resources. For example, you could say, "Have you checked out so-and-so for extra supplies?" Or maybe there's a nearby group of people pooling resources that you could join. By giving them an option that doesn't involve you, you're taking the pressure off yourself while still offering a form of assistance. Sometimes, no matter how tactfully you try to handle the conversation, emotions can run high. If you sense the conversation is heading toward conflict, it's important to stay calm and neutral. Don't match their frustration or anger. Instead, slow the conversation down. Speak calmly and repeat your boundaries if necessary. You could say something like, "I know this is tough for all of us, but I've done what I can. I can't compromise my family's safety." Reinforce your limits while showing that you're empathetic to their struggle. In situations where you want to offer help but don't want to attract attention, whether from others in the neighborhood or from people within your social circle, you need to be strategic about how you provide assistance. Publicly handing out supplies can create a snowball effect, where once one person sees you giving, others will come forward expecting the same treatment. One tactic is to provide stealth aid. For example, you could leave a small care package in a designated spot outside for someone to quietly pick up later. This way, there's no public display of generosity, and others aren't tipped off that you have extra resources. The more discreet you are, the less likely you are to become overwhelmed by people asking for help. Another method of limiting detection is offering a limited amount of supplies and packaging it in a way that makes it seem like you don't have much more. You might hand someone a small bag of food or a single water filter and say, "This is what I can spare. It's not much, but it's all I can manage right now." This implies scarcity, which can reduce the likelihood that people will come back asking for more. Being strategic with your aid allows you to help without making yourself a target. It's all about maintaining a low profile and controlling the narrative. The last thing you want is for people to assume you have plenty to give, as that will quickly put you in a difficult situation. Once the crisis subsides, you'll likely need to reassess your relationships with friends and family members who came to you for help. Some relationships may be strained or even broken if you had to turn people away or limit the assistance you gave. This is never easy, but it's important to remember that your primary responsibility was survival, yours and your immediate families. That being said, if you want to rebuild trust or repair damaged relationships, transparency is key. After the crisis, explain why you had to make the decisions you did. Let them know that while it was difficult, you had to prioritize your household's survival. Most people will understand when they've had time to reflect. especially if they realize just how close to the edge you were in terms of resources. You can also use the crisis as a teaching moment. Encourage those who were unprepared to start prepping for the future. Share the lessons you learned and offer them advice on how to build their own stockpile so they aren't caught off guard next time. This can help prevent future reliance on you and strengthen your bond, as you're helping them take control of their own survival. Ultimately, rebuilding relationships after a crisis is about finding balance. Some relationships may never fully recover, and that's okay. Survival is messy, and sometimes people will hold on to feelings of resentment. But for those willing to understand your perspective, it's a chance to reconnect and help each other be better prepared in the future. So, there you have it. Dealing with friends and family during a crisis when your supplies are limited is one of the most difficult challenges you'll face as a prepper. It's emotional, it's stressful, but it's something you need to prepare for ahead of time. By planning now, setting clear boundaries, and finding ways to help without depleting your own resources, you can protect your household while still showing compassion to others. Remember, your responsibility is to your family first. You can't help everyone, but with the right strategies, you can make a difference without putting your own survival at risk. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Facebook. Be sure to check the pinned comment below for a link to sign up for my new free newsletter. When you sign up, you'll instantly get a free download of my ebook, Surviving Civil Unrest: A Complete Guide. It's packed with tips and strategies to help keep you and your family safe during these uncertain times. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay safe out there.